How are you? I hope you're keeping well, and I truly hope that you're still keeping safe. My name is Mary Nabura, and I'm the lead events consultant at Majestic Events Kenya. And today, I'd like to welcome you to our YouTube channel where we discuss all things that are related to events. Today, we are coming to you from ParkInn by Radisson, this amazing hotel, which is along Wayaki Way. It's refreshing. The food service is exceptional. The food is great. So please make sure you turn around wherever you are and come and take a visit. And most importantly, we have an amazing setup, this floral arrangement, which is by Lillian of Floral Art. Thank you so much, Lillian. And today, we are back with the Resilience series, which is where we get events experts to come and share their stories, tell us how they came through or pulled through 2020, what they're currently doing, and what they think people in the events industry should be doing right now. Now, today, I am so excited because the last time this man was here, he was interviewing me. But today, the roles have reversed, and today we have one of the top wedding professional, and I say professional, MCs in Kenya, and that is none other than Kimari Maina. Hello, Kimari. How does it feel?
Madam, let's agree that we need to stick to the script.
We are sticking to the script.
To stick to the script, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm good.
For all of you who don't know, the last time Kimari interviewed me, he literally took the script, threw it away, and then said, we're discussing something else. So he's really worried whether I will do the same thing right now.
Yeah, but because you're a woman of your word,
yes.
Yeah, I'm very sure now that you've said we'll stick to the script, that we'll do exactly that. So thank you, Mariam. I appreciate it.
It's really good to have you. Kimari, you're one of the few people in the industry, in my opinion, and in many other people's opinions, who have thrived during the COVID season. And I call you a wedding professional MC. What would you call yourself?
Okay, we have started going outside the script.
Yeah.
Perhaps before I begin, I want to appreciate what you do, because I think we who are wedding professionals rarely have moments to introspect or to reflect.
Yeah.
And we're usually busy, hard at work, that we don't get such opportunities to have discussions or conversations that would help us introspect, or to watch the stories of other people's stories, so that we can learn from them too. But you've created a platform for that, so we appreciate you.
Oh, I'm still going to skip the script.
I thought that would work.
Maybe.
But I'm genuinely grateful.
Yeah.
What would I call myself? I say this a lot in jest, but it's true. At least from my perspective, it's true. In Kikuyu, there's a statement called Kadaya Moko. In Kiswahili, it can be translated to Kijana ya Mkono.
Okay.
Which is how I prefer to look at myself. Because my job at a wedding is to run around and make sure that everybody's comfortable, and to do everything that the couple and their parents would want to do for their guests, but they are unable to do because on the day of the wedding, they are also the guest of honor. So my job, I feel, is to represent them and to make sure that their guests are feeling comfortable. So KYM.
KYM. But why MC? You've really come out strong. In the last couple of 3 years, I think we've worked together at Samantha's Bridal, and you have been the MC of choice. What makes you, stand out? I know I'm making you blow your own trumpet, but we need to do it for ourselves, not wait for other people to do that. What do you think makes you stand out?
Wow. Probably a combination of two things.
Okay.
First, it's my gifting. So ever since I was in primary school, I remember I'd always be in spaces where I would be speaking publicly. So I can't even attribute that to myself. That's a God-given gifting.
Okay, nice.
And then secondly, over time I have learned that I was born to serve couples. I really enjoy and have the time of my life in any space where couples are and in any space that allows me to serve them. So combine these two things, and probably the best career that is out there for me now is being a wedding MC. So to be specific, it's not just MC, but it's a wedding MC, because in that space then I get to serve couples and exercise my gifting.
Oh wow! To all the ladies, let's say "ah" for saying for saying I'm just here to serve couples. I mean, you make it sound, anyway, it's your job, but you make it sound you actually take your work seriously. It's not necessarily about just making the money, but you're actually saying this is your mission. And I've seen on your profile, your WhatsApp profile, where you say, you're all about couples, you're all about marriage, you're all about helping them walk the journey. So well done on being very clear on what you're doing. And again, a lot of people would say, I'm an MC, I do weddings, I do corporates, but you have categorically said, you know what? Weddings is my space. So well done. Now, let's go back to 13th of March, when the first case of COVID was announced. What was your first response?
Let me put some context. Give you two stories that will put some context to this question,
Great.
At least the answer that I'll give. I remember when I was a teenager, my dad, whenever I'd hit any crisis, of course, then, if you look at the crisis that I'm talking about, then it was something small, but then it was
a
big.
crisis.
Correct, it was a crisis. I would shut down. I didn't have a response. And I remember my dad would challenge me and tell me, yes, you do have what seems to be a crisis in your hands. What are you going to do about it? And he'd always challenge me to look for a solution, not just to be paralyzed, because that's what I'd end up being. I'd be paralyzed. That's one. The second story is, in my early adult years, I had the privilege of being taught by my mentor then, called Anne Mugofua, that the words you speak bring life to your space or your surrounding. So you should be very careful with what you say, because if you say anything negative, then that it probably you're giving birth to it. See, we're created in the image of God, and God created things by speaking. And the same thing, if I'm created in the image of God, then perhaps what I speak will become life.
Yeah.
So then what was my response March 13th? I could see the government saying that there'll be no more weddings. That was a bit disheartening at the time. Actually, no, not that the weddings will be 15 people.
Yes, 15. I think it started with 15.
Yeah,
yes,
and 15 was
unimaginable.
Yeah. How do you have a wedding of just 15
yeah.
people? Correct.
If it was tough enough to do 100, 50.
Yeah, I mean, we were used to weddings that were 300.
Yes.
If you did a wedding of 300 people, that's a small wedding.
Yes.
So how do you move from 300 to 15? And I remember a lot of people in the industry, a lot of people, heck, even couples, would say we are postponing our wedding, or would say, indefinitely even. But I then remember the words that I was taught by Anne, and that was, speak life into your situation. Otherwise, say nothing.
That's a tweetable moment. Speak life or say nothing.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I started practicing. So I would say 2020 will still be a fantastic year. 2020 couples, I will still be hard at work serving couples. To be honest, if you ask me, I didn't know how that would happen, but I knew that I'll speak it, and then somehow things will come to life. And then the second thing was, again, what my dad taught me, which was don't be paralyzed. Look for solutions out of whatever situation you're in. I'm honestly privileged to have had these two conversations early in my formative years, because these two conversations shaped my response. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. Yes, don't be paralyzed. I hear you. I
Yes.
hear you.
And then after that, speak life
into your situation. That's wow, that's profound. And especially when if you say anything negative, it is almost as though you are speaking, or rather allowing negativity to be birthed.
Yeah. Let me give you an example that sounds a bit crazy or weird. We have known that from past years that December is always the busiest month.
Correct.
Has been the busiest month, and January is usually a quiet month from past years. So you will find that people will say, let me brace up for January, that's going to be a slow month. Or let me prepare for December, that's going to be a busy month. But what you don't know is that you've therefore declared, in a way,
January,
that you're going to have zero work or very little work in January. If that's what you want, then go ahead and say it. But if you want work in January, then say, yes, I know in past years January has been a slow month, but this January I'm going to be busy. This January I will have work. Or this January I'll be busy doing ABC. I tried this consistently, and my Januaries have been busy.
Oh, nice.
Same case with February, same case with March. And when I mean busy, I don't necessarily mean weddings, by the way. That's the other thing. I realized, I thank God that He helped me see that there's more ways I can serve couples, because that's really what I would wish to do beyond weddings.
Weddings.
Yes.
Yeah. So what did you do? I will preempt. You were one of the first people who came out strong as a wedding professional during COVID. You created what is called Weddings Hangout. Tell us more about that.
I am not, it was not a stroke of genius, to be honest. It was a project that we had started with my business partner, Bem, from 61 Studios. We wanted to interview vendors to give, for the benefit of the couple. So there's no space out there, we feel, where a couple can get to interact with information about weddings. So we had started creating a space where we can interview vendors for the benefit of the couple, so the couple can know, when I start planning my wedding, what should I be thinking about with regards to my gown, for example, or with regards to decor, or choosing a venue, etc. So March 13th happened, and we realized we may not have the opportunity to go to where the vendor is. Because, for example, we had done an interview with Ogake. That was our first interview.
Yes.
It was our only interview. No. A one-on-one, like this.
Oh, okay,
yes.
Okay.
The next person we were going to interview was Henrietta. Then this happened, and we could no longer go to her. So we had to look for a way.
So are you saying that you had already started the process even
Yes,
before COVID?
we had done a recording.
And here we were saying...
We had done a recording before COVID, which is, I'm telling you, it wasn't a stroke of genius.
Okay.
It was morphing. It was adapting. It's what my dad taught me, in a way. So COVID has happened, so how do we still interview this vendor? So we thought, there's this thing called Zoom. Why don't we interview on Zoom and record it and then publish it? We were like, okay, let's do that. So we started preparing to do an interview on Zoom. Then after that, we realized, wait, hold on. If we have an interview on Zoom, I hear there's this feature that allows you to not only record it, but put it live. Oh, that's interesting. So why don't we do that so that the people who we are trying to address can ask questions?
Yeah.
Because that's what we really want.
Yeah.
We want to address the need. So how cool would it be if a bride can send us a question live and she gets her answer immediately? So we said, that's fantastic. Let's do a live session.
Yes.
Then after that, we were like, wait, why not have 3? I mean, Zoom's limit at the time was 4 people. So it would be myself asking the questions, and then we have 3 other people who together we can have conversations, be asked questions by couples, and answer those questions live. We're like, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And so we did. And so the Weddings Hangout was born. It was not a stroke of genius, I'll be honest to
Okay.
say. We were adapting. We were trying to figure out this project we've started, how can we continue with it, even in the situation we're in.
Would you say then, knowing why you're in business or knowing your purpose is important? Because it sounds as though you probably wouldn't have started interviewing vendors if you didn't have the purpose of serving couples and not limiting what Kimari Maina does just at weddings, but saying how else can we serve these couples?
That's exactly it. In my opinion, that's exactly it. It's clear why you do what you do. The circumstances around you might change, but your goal will still remain the same. Weddings may stop, but couples still need to be served. Perhaps they don't only need to be served in weddings, perhaps they can be served in marriage. Perhaps they can be served before they start planning their wedding, perhaps in their premarital counseling, or whichever space where you'll find couples and they need some form of service. So
There
you're right.
you are.
Exactly.
To help.
So it might change, the space might change, but the purpose is still the same. So it definitely gave me clarity. It still gives me clarity to know that if I'm serving couples, then I will look for the space where I can plug in and do that, regardless of the environment.
Okay, so where would you see you started Weddings Hangout and it went on for how long? It went on for quite a while. Would you say that it made you more visible? Because for some reason, Kimari was just everywhere. It's like, okay, I knew Kimari just at expos, and then all of a sudden, it no longer became about the company you run, which is Sisimusha Entertainment. It now became, we need Kimari. I mean, in serious and honest opinion, every event that I was planning or idea we were speaking about, whether it was a webinar, we need Kimari. We need Kimari. What do you think helped you to get there?
That was the unintended effect. That's exactly it. I didn't foresee that. I can honestly say I didn't foresee that coming. I didn't expect such a response.
Because
a lot of people have said that this was amazing. What you did, especially when the industry was quiet.
You were the one.
You had this genius idea.
Yes.
It wasn't. Let's just be honest. It wasn't. It was trying to see how else we can continue serving. And the unintended effect is we happened to be the only people who were talking to couples at the time. And I got the opportunity to finally interact with vendors away from work, which for me was golden, because rarely did you, and I think you'll agree when I say this, opportunities like this platform you've created, are spaces where finally vendors can speak to vendors.
Yes.
The only time when vendors would speak to vendors, in my opinion, were people in the deco world, because you need to get stuff from each other.
Yeah.
But a photographer speaking to another photographer, a cake artist speaking to another cake artist, that was rare. Heck, myself speaking to these people was also rare, because normally we would speak only at a wedding and we would be speaking specifically about the tasks that we need to do at that wedding. But I didn't know you personally. And for me, that opportunity, the Weddings Hangout gave me the opportunity to not only speak directly to couples, but to speak to people who together we are serving couples, which was fantastic. Put this together and you get this space that gave us publicity. Unintended.
It gave you
unintended publicity. But we thank God that it did. We thank God that it did. So going back perhaps, and maybe I'm far-fetching by saying this, maybe I'm reaching out too far by saying this, but perhaps what I said earlier, which was this year will still be a fantastic year, maybe that is what birthed the publicity. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that at the beginning of the year, even with everything that had happened, I spoke, not knowing how, that 2020 will still be a fantastic year. And then we continued doing what we were hoping to still continue doing, which was, get information out there about planning weddings. And a byproduct of that is we got a lot of publicity, which therefore meant that we were hard at work throughout the year. Again, it was not intended.
The most amazing thing, and you haven't even mentioned it, is that one of your episodes on the Weddings Hangout was featured on KTN. And that, my friend, it was gold. You
Yes,
know?
it was. And
tell me, just tell us the story. Like, how did it happen? We've always known you were picked up by KTN, but share the story. How did it happen?
Ruth, Makeup by Ruthie, sorry. So Makeup by Ruthie was one of the people we interviewed. So it was her and Wakesha when we were discussing makeup. Then I think KTN picked it. KTN follows Ruthie quite a lot, and she's featured. She's been featured a lot on KTN, and so this was an opportunity for. And one of the things that I realized is that the mainstream media is actually looking for content. They don't have as much content, so any content that's valuable to their audience, they will look for it and they will plug it in. And this was going to be valuable content, specifically speaking to brides. So they picked it up and they published it. It wasn't just them. Even Daily Nation did the same thing.
Oh, wow.
Business Daily did the same thing. The conversation we had with Ogake, with Katha, and with Peggy about bridal gowns. They picked it up and they were like, this is a fantastic story that would be valuable to our audience. So let's pick it up and publish it. It wasn't intended. And again, forgive me for I keep repeating this because it's true for me. If you find your space, your niche, and you focus on that niche, if you find the people who you're supposed to serve, because I believe we're all created to serve someone.
Yes.
If you find the people that you're supposed to serve and you dig deep, ready to serve them, you will find your giftings and your purpose will align. You will find that doors will begin to open to spaces you never thought would open, simply because you're doing what you were created to do in the first place, in my opinion.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I think the whole of last year I can mention at least 7 opportunities where you actually took part, starting with the expo, moving on to the Samantha Bridal webinars, onto the mock wedding, onto, one thing after the other, supporting different people with Zoom. I think there was also some Urban Live, I think you assisted her as well in the backdrop. You have been a person of service. Is that, what would you tell other people in your industry, in the events industry, and even in the entertainment space, MC space? What advice would you give them? Yes, I do know that the advice you got from your father and what your mentor said. But what would you be telling them now? What should they be doing now? Obviously, there's a lot of, you didn't have, there's not much you did to get the publicity you got. You just happened to be in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. So what should they do in order to get into that right place?
I had this conversation today morning, surprisingly, with Shiro of Magnolia, and the summary or the conclusion of that conversation is believe that God will provide for you. This was the greatest challenge for a lot of people this COVID season, and that is we don't have enough money to feed ourselves, very basic needs. But the conclusion of the conversation we had today morning was believe that God is going to provide for you. Believe that if God can provide for, and this is actually biblical, if God can provide for the grass out there, if God can provide for the birds out there, how much more for you? Are you not more valuable than the grass? Are you not more valuable than the birds? Believe that God is going to provide for you. And do not, so the verse goes, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, make your request known to God. And I did. To be very honest, I did. I was like, God, it's not that I've refused to work. Let it be clear. I am very much available.
So that's what I wanted to say, because someone then can say that, okay, I'll just wait for provision.
Not at all. No, so that's part 2. So once you believe that God is going to make provision for you, the second thing is, maybe I should have started by saying this, have a personal vision. And I guess we've mentioned it a lot, the fact that I have zeroed in specifically on serving couples. Yes. That's my vision for life. And by having vision, then God will make provision for that vision. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, go out and work. allow me to say this because I feel I have had this discussion a lot with, especially this new generation, where they believe that automatically work will come.
Yes, yes.
2 days ago, I listened to Bien of Sauti Sol. It's being interviewed. It's a fantastic interview. Just search for Bien CTA.
Okay.
It's a fantastic interview. You will know that Sauti Sol would show up to work consistently since they were in Form 2. Consistently rehearsing on a close to daily basis since they were in Form 2. This was whether they had a gig. In Form 2, you didn't have a gig, a paying gig for that matter. No, for them it was, first they didn't have a gig, but they'd still rehearse. They didn't have a paying gig, but they'd still rehearse.
Yeah.
They would hone their craft. They would go out there and work. And I think that's something that we need to continue to do. I need to continue to do, and people in our industry need to continue to do, and that is, do not sit and wait, but go out there and look for an opportunity to work, whether it will pay you or not. To be honest, the Weddings Hangout was not, actually removed money from my pocket. And it did put money initially.
Yeah.
The result was I ended up doing a lot of weddings, and I thank God for that. But I wasn't sitting down waiting for the gigs to come. I still went out to work whether or not it would give me money. And I went out to work in a space where I have chosen my vision, so to speak. So to answer your question, what would someone in the wedding space do? In my opinion, is look for a place to serve, look for a place to work. The rewards shall come. Don't wait for and I guess that's the message that I wanted to give, especially the new generation. Let's call them millennials. When I started wedding emceeing, I probably did 50 weddings for free.
Excuse me.
Uncharged, yeah.
Huh.
And to my story for Sauti Sol, they too did many gigs for free. They were not being paid. They were doing what they had purposed to do, which is sing. But then the more you practice what you do, the better you become at it. Then it reaches a point where, and if you listen to their interview, they didn't go out looking for the money, but rather it's the money that came looking for them. It's someone who said, I like what you're doing. Can you come? How much are we going to,
nice.
How much should we charge? How much are you going to charge us?
Nice.
They didn't say, by the way, we charge. They were like, these guys, as good as they are, surely there must be an invoice. And that's how they ended up being paid for their first gig. Same thing with me. The first wedding I did where I was paid, it was one of those weddings I was going to do, no charge. And then at the end of the meeting, the couple was like, so how much do you charge? And then I realized, oh wait, I charge for this?
Yeah.
Should I charge for this? These are the questions I'm asking myself. And then I just threw a random figure. I had not thought about it. I just threw a random figure and they paid. And I was like, oh wait, you mean we can charge for this service? So go out there and work. And I know it sounds ridiculous or crazy, especially if maybe you don't even have the bus fare to go out and work. Or maybe you have not eaten a meal the day before. I've gone through that, and I know what it means not to barely live. Yet, I still want to go out there and work. But my motivation has always been, you know what, I'll still work. I'll still look for an opportunity to serve as best as I can.
Kimari Maina, you're a total inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think what touches me is I've been in the industry for a while, and I've gotten to work with a lot of top wedding professionals, top wedding decor people. And I will say that for half of my career, I didn't know who Kimari Maina was. And the last half, I've just been hearing, no. In fact, there are many people who's like, if Kimari is not there, I would rather even just postpone.
It's very humble.
And I guess it's because your service is coming through. And I'd really like to say, on behalf of all of them, thank you so much for what you're doing. And thank you for sharing your story with us and coming here today. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Kimari Maina sharing with us his inspirational story, his resilient story. And I think if I was to ask him what a parting shot would be, it would be what? I think it would be once you have a vision, you will get a vision.
Yes.
What would you say? Would you get it?
That's actually it. Find your space to serve and serve.
All right. Find your space to serve and serve. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we end, we'd like to thank our sponsors. Thank you so much to ParkInn by Radisson for hosting us. This is an amazing place. Thanks to Aquatronics for doing all the video production. And thanks to Floral Art for this amazing floral arrangements that we're having here today. Until we meet next time, God bless.